People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, guys. Today's guest is a rock star. We'll get to it. I have 2 pages of notes to go over. And this person, I took time and I wrote an introduction.
Oh. Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
An international award-winning fashion designer, actor, and production designer, working in over 60 countries in movies, TV, concert tours, and live theater. As a fashion designer, his creations have been on runways in Milan, New York, Florence, Berlin, and Vegas. On international television, he has worked behind the camera as well as creating illusionary effects. His credits go on and on and on and on. Everybody, it's David Starr. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you guys.
So we have a timer going because you have a hard out. You're a busy man. You have stuff going on. We only got you for 45 minutes. We're down to 43. Let's get started, man. We got
the introduction was 2 minutes long.
I got 2 pages of notes, dude. All right, so where did David Starr start?
When I was younger, I was a magician. I started out as a magician. So I had a bird act and everything when I was young, and at the same time I wanted to be an actor, but I just didn't feel like I would be able to memorize lines. So I became a magician and I was able to memorize lines. Then I started doing illusions. And then at one point I started doing like trade show exhibits as an artist. And that taught me to be able to think beyond just a piece of paper, to be able to like visualize large scale things. So at one point I started doing artwork for magicians, doing logos and things like that. And eventually I started doing illusion design. And I think the trade show exhibit helped me like grasp the concept of 3 dimensions. So so I did illusion design, and then that kind of just rolled into working for Rockstars and creating illusions for Rockstars.
So, as a magic podcast, I have to ask, what kind of magic did you do? Were you a Lance Burton dove worker, or were you doing illusions, or just close up? What were you doing?
I did stage shows. I had like I had a zigzag at one point. But mostly I did a bird act, but not like difficult. I think I did 1 body load, but a lot of like the classic dove pan, tear apart dove vanish, all the classics. And we're talking like probably 30, 35 years ago, and back then there was no internet, you didn't have a way. If you wanted to learn bird magic, you went to the magic shop and you watched a lecture, or you bought a book, what was it? Ian Adair's Encyclopedia of Dove Magic, so.
All right, man. So for the people that don't know, I've already started the podcast by giving credit.
Okay.
But Natalie doesn't even know this. My wife right now is going back to college to become a nutritionist. Mm-hmm. So I don't get to see her much. She books my shows in the morning. She homeschools the kids and then does her own school. So today, this is the only time we get to talk to each other. So I'm going to fill her in on you.
Okay.
Audience.
Okay.
Magic designer, set designer, magic consultant.
Wow.
On World's Greatest Magic.
Wow.
Champions of Magic. World's Most Dangerous Magic. Masters of Illusion. I always get this wrong because I'm not French. Lee Plus Grand Cabaret du Monde. Megan McCauley Show. I said it wrong. He's laughing at me.
Yeah.
America's Got Talent. Greg Fruin's Magic Special. Constantino's Magic Special. Britain's Got Talent. The Hurricane Relief Concert. Bill Blagg's Magic Special. And Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Wow.
Come on.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I mean, those World's Greatest Magic Specials and World's Most Dangerous and, all of those, that is my favorite thing to watch on a rainy afternoon. I could always put it in and watch it just having something to do with that behind the scenes or consulting, whatever you did.
Right.
Amazing. You were a part of magic history doing that, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Those were, back, that would be like the mid 90s, I think World's Greatest Magic was on. And, I loved watching those shows. And at that point I wasn't doing fashion or any of the other things. I was really just designing everything for magicians, whether it was costumes, illusions, marketing, anything, backdrops. I was really focused on magicians in the 90s. And those were great TV specials. Like I got to actually go on location for a few of them and be there when they were recording them. And I was there for the very first season of America's Got Talent, the very grand finale where they announced the winner of America's Got Talent. I was in the audience because I was working with Nathan Burton, my buddy Nathan Burton, and he was he was the first magician basically on America's Got Talent that year. And so I was out there, we were creating illusions, and sometimes it would be, an illusion that I had already created previously, and we just had to restage it for, America's Got Talent, or sometimes we had to come up with new ideas because it was fast and furious back then. You didn't have much time. Those first couple seasons of America's Got Talent, you had to do it in front of the live studio audience. You really had to pretty much do it in one take. If you had some catastrophic thing, I'm sure they would let you if you fell off the front of the stage or something. But those first seasons, like, you couldn't go out on location. You couldn't go out in the parking lot and make a car appear or anything. You had to make it appear on stage. So
people don't know how great Nathan Burton is. That's one of her favorite Las Vegas magicians.
Absolutely.
We just went out there last year and saw Copperfield and Penn and Teller and Matt King and the whole thing. And she's like, wow. Because we only saw Nathan in the V Variety show back in 2008.
Of course.
Full show.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Her favorite, man.
Yeah.
Dude, we got so much and I got so little time. 37 minutes left.
Well, we'll talk about it and get on.
So let's see. All right, so I want you to know, and I want the listeners to know, I don't know, are you allowed to mention all the celebrities that you've worked for? Because I found the list, and I don't mind name dropping. Is that okay?
If you're saying them, then I'm not saying them, so technically.
I found a list. Are you ready? So these are the Vegas concerts and the other things that he's worked for, right? Like the musical concerts and the entertainers that he's worked for.
Okay.
Kevin Hart, 50 Cent, Alabama, Beyonce, Alice Cooper, Copperfield, and Criss Angel.
Wow.
And more. The list said and more. So, golly, dude. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been an evolution. Like, if you ask me, like, people ask me all the time, people that are young, what's the secret to success? Or, they always, what's the piece of advice? And mine has always been that I basically always said yes. So if somebody asked me to do a logo, I said yes. If I had started working with them and they said, could you do a costume design? I said yes. And then I would go and learn between then and the time they needed the costume. I would learn everything I needed to learn about costume design. So I remember when I was in art school, I had a design teacher whose philosophy was, and this always stuck with me, a good designer can design anything if they can understand the parameters in which the design has to function. So there's good design and bad design. If you're a good designer, you should be able to design an airplane or a piece of jewelry or a house. But in order to design the airplane, obviously you have to understand how airplanes work. But the design part of it, not the engineering, the actual visuals of what makes it look aesthetically pleasing, are true no matter what, whether it's a piece of furniture or a house or a jacket or an illusion. So that always stuck with me. So I always was like, well, yes, I'll learn. Like, I've never designed a car, but I designed the interior of a nightclub or stores or restaurants, and I didn't you know, I didn't have a training specifically to design those things, but I learned to, you know, train myself and use design techniques to make a good solid design.
Wow. What art school did you go to?
It was called Antonelli Institute of Art and Photography.
Where is
I
that
don't even know
located?
if it exists anymore. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They
Where
had
was it?
one in Philadelphia, and I went to the one in York, Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about your clothing design. I read all the articles you sent me. He's been on the cover of international magazines in Milan and Berlin and all these Milan.
Okay.
When I say Mulan, like
Yeah.
Disney. Sorry. I don't know. I'm from Virginia. I'm a country boy. I don't Mulan. Is it a place? Mulan is a place? I thought it was a girl's name.
I thought it was a place too, but maybe it's just
See,
a
we're
girl's
both
name.
country people from Virginia.
No, it's Milan, Italy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the hub of fashion, Milan, Italy. Yes.
So I read the article, but tell everybody how you came up with this whole fashion thing and the guitar on your chest and all of that.
Yeah. So the deal was my part of my other philosophy. I'm going to write a book someday with my business philosophy because I feel there's certain things that I've learned that I hold to be truths that I have always like used as my business practices. And one of the successes is what I said, always saying yes. But the other thing is to think of yourself as a brand. So we understand what branding is. Branding is, you know, a product, and we try to get the general public to buy our brand. So you use advertising, you use colors, you use catchphrases, you use all these things to try to get people to buy your brand. But I've always thought of myself as the brand. And when you look at the successful entertainers that are out there, Kevin Hart's a perfect example. Kevin Hart is the brand, and he knows that. He knows the way he dresses, you know, the movies he's in, how he carries himself, all the different things, the products that he endorses, all those things, he thinks of himself as the brand. So for myself, I had this hair and, you know, I was pretty committed to it. And even though I can't play guitar, I collect guitars, as you can see. And I thought, I bought a jacket at the Salvation Army for like $7.99. And I just started experimenting. I thought, wow, it'd be cool to paint a guitar on it. But instead of having it the normal way, like right side up, it fits the design better to have it kind of upside down and going down the jacket. I had never seen that before. So I did that on just a black jacket with a red guitar. And then, of course, I wore it when I was at concerts around rock star celebrities that I already knew. And it didn't take long before some respected rock stars that I knew were like, hey, where'd you get the jacket? I want one. You know, you should launch a clothing line. So I started painting jackets, and then a buddy of mine is a famous rock star from Czechoslovakia. His name's Vlado, and they had made a movie about his life, like a whole documentary, a feature documentary, and they filmed part of it here in my house when they were making the film. And then they invited us to the premiere in Bratislava, Slovakia. So I thought, yeah, I'll go there because I love Prague. Prague is one of my favorite cities in the Czech Republic. And right next door is Slovakia and Bratislava. So I went to the premiere, and while I was there, I met this gentleman who was kind of like the guy that runs the entire fashion industry in Eastern Europe. And he said he had heard about my jackets, and he was like, hey, if you come back in like a month, there's a big expo, and you could come back as my guest and bring your jackets. So what did I do? I said yes. And I came home and painted jackets around the clock for 3 weeks, and then flew back over there. And then I was kind of like the hit of the expo because I was this crazy American rock star guy. Like, what is he doing here in our country? So that just escalated. Then there were people there from Milan and from Venice, and they invited me to do other fashion shows. And then that's how that kind of just took off, a life unto itself. I didn't really even set out to be a fashion designer in a way, you know.
Wow. So you'd never been to a fashion show before that you were thrown into fashion shows?
Not really. I mean, I'd watched them on TV and I'd been around them like in art school. I had seen like, ones from high school and that, high school kids did or whatever, but I never really been to like a real, you know, runway show with, supermodels and all that. And the next thing I'm over there, picking models from, from Ukraine and from, Estonia and all these supermodels. And I'm picking what jackets are going to go because I did men's jackets and women's jackets. So I would pick the different girls and go, okay, I think this jacket would look good on you. And, and I'm putting together the fashion show. And I had a model that I worked with a lot. Her name was Kenzie. And she came with me when I was doing the first fashion shows over in Italy and places like that. And she helped co-direct the shows kind of.
Wow.
So I don't know if you remember, but one of my best friends in the world, his name was Scotty Scafidi. He passed away, but his daughter, Susan Scafidi, runs the Fashion Law Institute of New York.
I do remember.
And she came to the Magic Convention, and I introduced you guys together.
I do remember that.
Have you had any trademark issues with people trying to steal your idea?
No, because after, I don't remember if it was before or after that, after a couple of years of doing it, the shows in Europe, I thought, I better really start thinking about this seriously because, there's a lot of money at stake. I have a lot of money invested in the brand Rockstarr Designer Wear. And that's, I don't want to say it's generic enough, but the word Rockstar, I can't lay claims to. I spell it Rockstar with 2 R's. That's my name. But I thought, I got all this. I better protect this stuff. So I got it trademarked. It took like a year and a half to get it trademarked. And I had a couple like famous people like not threaten me, but they tried to intimidate me to back down and not pursue the trademark. So I had to modify the trademark a couple times to get it. But now I totally have it registered and I've never really had anything directly. I have a whole line of T-shirts that I've come out with, and those are the things I'm worried that somebody will like the design of one of the T-shirts and just kind of rip off the idea. But
it happens in Magic all the time.
Yep.
And you come out in the fashion world, and I'm like, hey, I know a lady that can help you. I'm just trying to help you out. And I don't know. So has a whole list of acting credits of all of his movies he's been in. I'm looking at these lists, and I just have a question for bikers versus werewolves. Okay?
Yeah.
My question is, Jake Busey, how was he to work with? Did you get to work with him?
I did. He was amazing. He was actually, we had a scene together, which was the coolest thing. So we were on set. We were filming out in the desert outside of Las Vegas. There's this really cool, like 200-some-year-old mining town that's like way out, like an hour outside of Vegas, way out in the desert. It's got mine shafts and trussing and like old cabins, and it's like a whole little town almost. And a lot of movies have been filmed there. So we were filming that we were there for almost a week filming, and I had this big scene with Jake Busey. And, I knew that was going to be, after all the days of filming, I knew that was going to be the end of the filming because it was like pretty traumatic or whatever. And so he and we were like hanging out in the afternoon, between takes. It turns out he's a scuba diver and I'm a scuba diver too. So we started telling scuba diver stories. We didn't talk about acting or anything. We started talking about scuba diving. And it was cool because now we had like a similar interest that we were kind of equal on, because obviously I can't, he's, as an actor, I mean, he's done amazing things, Starship Troopers and Frighteners and Enemy of the State. And I think it was just on Stranger Things like last season or whatever. So, but we just talking about crazy scuba diving stories because I did scuba diving with great white sharks and things like that. So.
Wow. How was Michael, I can't say his name, Perry? Michael Perry from Eddie and the Cruisers?
Michael Paré. Michael Paré, yes. We've done 2 movies because I say my girlfriend, she's an actress, Lisa. And so we did actually 2 movies with him. We did one in Hollywood it was one of the first roles we ever had. We have really tiny parts. We only have like a line or two each. But Michael Paré was on that, and it was a pirate movie. It's a pirate movie. It'll be coming out, I think, this fall. It's called Cursed Waters. And they built a pirate ship at CBS Studios, and we got to film on the pirate ship for a couple days. And I'm a huge fan of the movie Streets of Fire, which Michael Paré was in it. After Eddie and the Cruisers, he did this movie it was one of Willem Dafoe's first movies. And Willem Dafoe is like part of a biker gang, and they have this big fight at the end where they're using sledgehammers. And the music was written by the guy, Jim Steinman, who did the music for Meatloaf. So a lot of the music sounds like Meatloaf music. So it's this like fairy tale musical movie. It's a really great movie. So, and then Michael Paré was on Bikers versus Werewolves, and Lisa had a scene with him, which is pretty cool. So
wow. Well, while we're talking about all this, you were on a movie with Mickey Rooney in his last film.
Oh, wow.
Did you get to work with him at all?
no, so that movie called Bamboo Shark has not been released. It's been sitting in a can for like 8 years or 10 years or something. And the days that they filmed with him, I was not on set. That was one of the first times I was ever a producer on a movie. So they had like 50 celebrity impersonators who were in this comedy movie, and Mickey Rooney played this theater owner. And I've seen all the, cuts and outtakes and all the stuff with him in it. But the days that he was filming, I wasn't on set. But he was actually really, really good in it. It's a shame because it's his last unreleased piece of work. So I'm hoping someday they're going to finish the movie and release it.
Well, according to IMDb, you have 10 movies in post-production right now.
I know. It's crazy.
Dude, busy. Super
Yes.
busy. You were writing on the rocks. Is that your life story?
No. It was a short film that we did. It was a 48-hour film festival where at 7:00 on Friday night, they give you a topic, and then you have to write a movie, film it, edit it, do the music and everything, and submit it by 7:00 on Sunday night. So it's crazy, and it's a short film, so it could only be like 5 minutes or 10 minutes long. So it could only be a certain length, but you have to make it all in 48 hours, which is a lot of fun. You don't sleep, but it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
And we actually won an award for like best art direction for the movie. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, it was kind of cool.
Where can we see it?
We're trying to figure out how we're going to release it because we've entered it in some film festivals. So we don't want to put it out there for the general public if it's going to be in a film festival because they want things that haven't been released yet. So we were going to try film festivals for maybe a couple more months and then release it this summer. And it'll all be like you'll be able to see all that stuff on my website. Like I have all the trailers that I'm going to have on the website, and we'll release all that kind of stuff. Oh, and on my YouTube channel too.
All right, so list your YouTube channel, your website, and where we can get Rockstarr gear. I'm not wrapping up, but I want to know this now.
Okay, so the fashion brand is Rockstarr with 2 R's, Rockstarr Designer Wear. And so the website's just rockstardesignerwear.com. And we have there's not a lot of jackets on there because I have so many of them. I use them in the fashion shows, but I have a whole line of t-shirts, and the comic book is on there, which is really cool. So this company turned my life into a comic book, which is amazing. It was just amazing. So so you can get that on there. So that's rockstardesignerwear.com. Then I also have thedavidstarr.com, which will be all my acting. And so I just took another website that I had, and I'm redoing that website right now. So I haven't really launched it. So I don't know what actually you see if you go there. I'm not really sure. And then the other one is my YouTube channel, which is just Rockstarr Designer on YouTube. And it's Rockstarr with 2 R's. And that's all one word. Rockstarr is always one word with 2 R's.
Awesome. When you're filming out in the desert, Do you know the story about the Genghis Khan movie and John Wayne and where they dropped nuclear bombs? The whole cast got cancer. You're avoiding places like that to film.
Yes, yes, I do know that story.
Oh,
Of course,
Make
yeah.
sure. I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm trying to take care of you. Okay. You're like, this place is really great. There's like sets here. There's like cabins. Yeah, they all got abandoned because people were dying.
Yeah, of course, of
Out in
course.
the desert, man. All right.
It's not the same place.
I just want to make sure. I'm trying to take care of you.
I appreciate that.
One of my questions was, do you play the guitar, though?
I do not.
You already answered that. It's time to learn. You still
In
got
my
time.
next life. You know,
Yeah.
that's something you got. That's one of those things you got to start when you're in your 20s if you're going to be good at it. I picked it up. I did mess around a little bit with it when but never. You got to choose your talents. You can't do everything, you know.
And you got so much going on, man. So it says in your bio that your girlfriend Lisa, she's an actress, but also a special effects artist. Is that true?
Yes, yes, she's amazing. You should think about her for a future podcast because since we've been dating the last couple of years, I've introduced her to all these magicians, and so she's working for all the magic builders now. She's a scenic artist, and so she works. She can take a piece of aluminum and make it look like wood, and she can sculpt a life mask and make it look just like you. She pokes each hair one at a time. It's amazing. She's amazing. So
Well, see, that's what I wanted to do before magic. I wanted to be a special effects person. So where did she go to school?
She's from England, and her father was kind of a well-known effects guy. So he worked on Batman and Back to the Future, and he has some really big credits. So she grew up in England, like in the movie industry when she was young.
We're gonna have her on real soon.
Yes.
Let's get back to you because that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I saw that you were on a television show called Unearthed Icons. And I'm like, yeah, but what is that show? What is that? Then he sends me a whole list of stuff to research on him, which I thank you for. That helps so much for this interview. I've known you for years.
Yeah.
I even called Ray Lum this morning, and I said, I got David on. Every time I'm with David, we hang out. We have a great time. I love you to death, but I don't know you that well. Ray, what do I need to know? What do I need? He's like one of my best friends in the world, and he's awesome. Yeah, Ray, but what do I need to know? He's one of my best friends, and he's awesome. Ray, help me. 0%.
Yeah, Ray's awesome. Actually, Lisa works for Ray a lot. She does a lot of scenic work for Ray.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We've had Ray on here a couple times. So he was on Unearthed Icons for his 007 collection.
Yes.
Tell me about your collection, man.
Yeah, so there's this TV show on, I think it's on the Vice channel, and every season they do a new movie franchise. So like the first season, it was like 6 or 8 episodes on Star Wars. Then they did Fast and Furious. They've done Batman. And one season they did James Bond. And just by some weird coincidence, I have always collected James Bond. I've been a big fan of the James Bond movies. And I did movie licensing, which isn't on your list there, maybe. But I did movie licensing back in the 90s for Austin Powers, James Bond, the first X-Men movie, and the movie Highlander. And so I designed products and did illustration and all kinds of like really cool product design. And so for James Bond, I did these really cool posters, hand illustrated with like real airbrush and everything. And so I started collecting James Bond props and wardrobe. And through the years, I've just accumulated one of the largest private collections of original costumes and props from the movies and then reproductions and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of the collectors in the James Bond community, they kind of know each other. I keep a low profile. Not many people know about me, but some of the other big collectors know who I am. So when the producers were looking for people that had collections, they were talking about how it ties into pop culture. They called my buddy Ed, and Ed recommended me and him because he has a large collection too. And they came to my house and filmed for like 10 hours. Yeah, they filmed all kinds of stuff.
So all the pictures that's on your Facebook page, that's your collection? That's not Ed's?
Well, I think most of it's my collection. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I'm showing Natalie the pictures now. Hold on. Golly. Just go in here and look at this, Natalie.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the end of every episode, it was really cool because what they did is when the credits would roll for the TV show, they would slowly pan across like different movie props. And it was either my collection or Ed's collection. And at the bottom, it said from the collection of David Starr or from the collection of Ed Mangiani. So that was kind of cool because every episode had, either my collection or his collection. And we were the only two that had it. So that was kind of cool. And that was just, that was just last year,
So where does Ed live? Does he near Vegas as well?
No, he lives in Philly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in Vegas or Philly?
I'm here in Central PA.
I thought you were out in Vegas. You're out there all the time.
I know. Everybody thinks I'm in Vegas. I used to be there enough that I actually thought about just moving there. But because once the fashion things started taking off and I was going to Europe so much, it's half the distance if you live on the East Coast. Because from Vegas, you got 5 hours to the East Coast. And then from 5 or 6 hours, you're in Europe. So before COVID, when I was doing fashion shows like every 3 months, I was in Europe over and over and over again. Sometimes I was there 2 or 3 times in a month. So that kind of got me out of wanting to stay in Vegas,
Wow. Wow. All right. So let's see. I'm trying to do speed round because we only got you 45 minutes. Natalie, ask him some questions while I look over the notes.
If you need to go over, we can go over. I'm good. We're good.
Okay. All right. So I got super jealous about your Copperfield Museum poster design. Everybody got one. I didn't get one. And I'm like, can I still buy those? Do you have those, or is that just a certain print?
No, you can buy them. I think Lupe Nielsen has them.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, Lupe has them. I signed. That was a cool project. I've worked on things for Copperfield for 20 years, probably through the years, and that poster, you felt like you were contributing to history in a way, because they're not going to make another map of the museum. And it literally took 6 months to make that map. There was if you look at that map, it's like Where's Waldo? It has like all the little highlights from the museum, and it's laid out in 3 dimensions so you can walk through in your head because the museum's so overwhelming. Have you ever done the tour?
No, I was invited, and then I tried to cash in on it, and it was like I never got invited. So
okay.
Hopefully with friends like you, maybe I can get there one day.
So if you do the tour, the part of the tour that's so amazing is it's so much, but you can't take pictures of anything. So all you have is in your head what you saw. And when you try to tell other people about it, you say, well, then we went in this room and there was a little theater in there and Copperfield did magic tricks. And you sat, and you tell people, but you have nothing to show them. So the cool thing about having that poster, the map, is it shows the upstairs and the downstairs, the 2 levels. And it really shows like you can picture yourself walking through it. Because I did an exaggerated scale because there's so many items in each room. But what we did is, like for example, the Houdini room, David picked out, let's show, the water torture cell and the milk can and the bathtub where he trained and a couple of the famous posters and this and that. And, and so he picked all the specific things that he wanted me to illustrate and render. And I put them in the room kind of the way that they actually sit in there. And then you walk into the next room and then you go into the next room. So you get and then there's one giant room that has like the golden age of magic. There's one that's a TV room that has all your favorite, Doug Henning and all that kind of stuff. And so that has stuff from Orson Welles and Channing Pollock and Ricciardi and all this stuff, which is just amazing to be able to like work on all that, to have pictures and put it together into a piece of artwork. And then there's the masters with all the classic Blackstone and Carter and just everything's in there. And then there's a lot of the posters are shown. So anybody, like I said, if you ever see that poster, you realize how much time and effort went into it. And then I think we did 100 of them where I signed them and David signed them. And there were only 100 of them. And then they numbered them from 001 to 100. And so those, I don't know if there's any of those left, but I know I signed a bunch of extra ones, and Lupe had those for sale. But you need one for your collection. They're amazing. They're really.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And because of your connection, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'll be glad to sign it if it's not a signed one. You know, I can't speak for David though. So
I'll just go to his show and beg him afterwards.
there you go. There you go.
And it will be numbered, but that's okay. That's all right. So, talk to me about your other television or movie projects that we didn't get into, because I only named a couple.
Yeah.
What
So
else do you have that you're proud of or cool stories?
So the movie thing is, like I said, when I was younger, I went to Universal Studios in my early 20s, and I remember going out to LA because my parents lived in LA before I was born, and my mom always said that my spirit was in California. I was born in Chicago, just a couple years later than when they lived in LA, and so she was always like, "You have this Southern California kind of spirit," and so I went out there. And I had a lot of friends back then. I actually, back when video stores existed, I ran a couple video stores, and I had a ton of friends that were actors, and they were always like, "Come out to LA." And one of my friends was on Falcon Crest, and he was like, "Come out, and I'll get you in the background and all this stuff, you know." And I never did. Like I said, I just, for whatever reason, I was concentrating on magic. And then when I started dating Lisa, she was always an actress. She was an actress when she was young. She did theater, and like I said, worked in the movie industry and did all the special effects things. And once her kids were grown, then she could go back to pursuing that career. And I was like, well, you know, I've always been interested in this, and now I feel more confident that I can try to memorize things. If you know, she taught me how to memorize lines, and so we just started doing the movies together. And sometimes we have scenes together. Sometimes they cast us like as a husband and wife. Like we just did one where we filmed in Rome in November, and this one's really cool because they had all these fashion designers submit designs for the movie, and then they picked one fashion brand to be featured in the movie, and then they created this little boutique outside of Rome with Rockstarr Designer Wear brand. And when they found out that I was an actor, they created a part where I'm the owner of the boutique, and the main character, the girl that's in the movie that the story's about, she's my daughter. So Lisa and I got to play the owners of the boutique, which is my brand, and the main character in the movie is supposed to be my daughter. So we went to Rome in November and filmed a couple scenes, and I took all kinds of jackets and shirts and comic books and all this stuff, and they decorated, their set decorator found this boutique that they could rent or whatever. I don't know how they did it, but they filled it with my brand, and then all the employees were wearing my shirts and things like that. And then I got to almost kind of play myself. I only had a couple lines, but they asked us, originally the lines were written in English, but when we got there, the entire crew was Italian. You know, hardly anyone spoke English. The director said, "Hey, he asked the handler, would you be willing to try it in Italian?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you teach us how to speak it, you know, how to say it in Italian." So we did our lines in Italian. I don't know how good they sound for our Italian. I don't speak Italian, but I think it's going to be a pretty big movie. The director is like an award-winning director, and there's a lot of press on it in Italy, and the cinema industry in Italy is a very cultural thing. It has a lot of history, and so it comes out in November, and I'm hoping there's a premiere and we'll get to go to the premiere or something, you know, because we've gone to a couple of the red carpet premieres for these movies, you know, so.
Well, I was thinking about you today as I was feeding the animals and talking to Ray and everything. And I was thinking, every time somebody dies, there's a picture of you with that celebrity. So it's either you're taking out all the celebrities, or you just know everybody and you have a file cabinet and you pull out names after. I don't know which one it is.
I know. It's sad. it's sad to meet so many celebrities through the years. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds of them. And then to realize so many of them passed away. I mean, when Val Kilmer died the other day, that one personally kind of hit me because he was one of my favorites, you know. And so through the years, you realize how many of them have gone, you know. But
Wow. Well, your Facebook page, I mean, it's just red carpets here and movie premieres, and you're working on this project and the Copperfield thing, and he's on a television show. What's the F1 connection? You just like watching it?
oh yeah, so
What is that about?
years ago, I was always into like IndyCar racing, the Indy 500 when I was a kid, and when I lived in Houston, Texas, AJ Foyt was a famous race car driver, and he was from Houston and had a bunch of car lots in Houston, and he was winning the Indy 500 back in way back in the day. So so I kind of was interested in racing, and then for some reason I years went by and there was no way as an American to really watch F1, and then all of a sudden I met this buddy of mine named Bruce Crockett, who was a race car driver, and we became really good friends. And so I took my brand, at that time it was Concert Illusions, and I sponsored his race car. And he drove a Formula race car, not a Formula One, but he drove a Formula Mazda and a Formula Atlantic, and the car was the Concert Illusions race car. And so he would do races, you know, every weekend. And whenever I had time, I would go to the track and, you know, take pictures with the car, and we had like bikini models come and like do photo shoots with the car and put it in TV shows and all these different things. We made a pilot for a TV series that never got picked up with racing. And then they were going to launch a U.S. Formula One team years ago. And because of doing so many illusions, I had made race cars magically appear a bunch of times for different magicians. So I created the illusion, the look of the prop, and you know, and to make a NASCAR appear, a Formula One car over in Italy, and you know, helicopters and all kinds of stuff through the years. I designed all that kind of stuff. And this guy Crockett that I knew, he had some connections, and he was like, if this comes through, you know, I'd like to propose that you make the Formula One car magically appear, or you put it together. You're kind of the director of it. So we worked on that, and then they lost the sponsorship, and they didn't get to do it. So I never really got to follow through with that. But every year I go to Monaco to the Formula One Grand Prix. I've been going for like 10 years, and I sit in the same stands and go to the James Bond casino and gamble and have dinner there and get all, you know, wear a tuxedo and all that kind of stuff. And it's a great week. And the Cannes Film Festival is the same time. So we also go to the Cannes Film Festival, and last year we got to walk one of the big red carpets at the Cannes Film Festival, which is a pretty big deal. It was pretty once in a lifetime thing, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the name of the James Bond casino in Monte Carlo?
That's just the Casino de Monte Carlo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. It was in GoldenEye, and it was in Never Say Never Again.
Is that where the Champions of Magic was filmed?
Yeah, actually, they filmed in front of the casino. Yes, there we go. Great magic.
It's just magic. I only know magic. That's all I know, man. That's all I know. Dude,
I was actually there. I had designed a bunch of stuff for Nicholas Knight. Remember Nicholas Knight?
Yes.
And I had designed artwork that he used to do that compressed thing, and it have Kinga would get in the illusion, and they would smash her, and they would pull out a picture of Kinga, and then they would change the costume and put her back in. And I did all the artwork on those little things. So way back in the 90s, I went to Monaco. That was the first time I was there, while Nicholas was there doing his, he was in the review show. And so I went over there and collaborated with him on some illusion designs or whatever. Maybe I might have been that, because I think they were about to film that TV special back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I have you on for another 60 hours.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of fun. We've only scraped the surface.
And I was going as fast as I could, man. So you got Rockstarr Design. Help me.
Rockstarr Designer. Yeah.
Rockstarr Designer?
Well, Rockstarr Designer is kind of me.
Rockstarr
I'm
Designer
kind
Wear.
of, yeah. So Rockstarr Designer Wear is the brand, but a lot of people in Europe, it's funny. Everybody's just like, "Hey, Rockstar! Hey, Rockstar!" You know that when they do the fashion show, I'm kind of I'm the headliner of the fashion show, and the other people, I'm kind of the, you know. So it's funny. It's kind of crazy, you know.
Dude, that's awesome. You have your fingers in so many pies and seeing so much of the world, so much that a normal person working a 9 to 5, they're like, that's not real. That's not a real thing.
Yeah.
One more question because the alarm went off. We're over time.
Oh, we're good. We're
smiling.
good. We're
You're
good.
still smiling.
I'm good. I'm good.
What about the Rockstarr Designer reality television show? Did that ever come to fruition?
No, that
needs
was
to happen.
I know. When you look at the garbage that's on TV, sometimes I think, because my philosophy is I only want to put positive energy into the world. You know, I'm not gonna. I just refuse to be part of the white noise. You know, so the reason the comic book thing, uh, when we started talking about the comic book, I said I wanted to be inspirational because, like I said, when I write my book, I'm going to talk about my business philosophy, and all of it is about positive, you know, positive reinforcement and training your brain, like to not even think about success. Like I don't consider myself successful. I just consider myself creating a machine that cultivates success, and I'm running the machine. So I don't look and go, oh, I've accomplished this or that, whatever. I don't really even stop and think about that. I'm really just concentrating on the next task and complete that task. And when you take a million little tasks and add them up, you can call it successful or you can call it failure sometimes, you know? So it's just about staying focused and setting these goals and tasks to keep moving forward. So as far as like the comic book thing, I was like, I want it to be motivational. I want it to be something. I want there to be a message in it about my brand and my philosophy. And I'll tell you because now I'm going over on my time. So so I did with the comic book because it was a comic book, and there's not a lot of people that have comic books about themselves. I didn't write it or do any of the artwork or anything. Really just I had final say and help write the story and come up with the idea and the direction. And I could say, well, that's not right. I wanted it to be accurate, first of all. I wanted it to be true. And so because of the comic book thing, a couple of comic book stores and comic cons invited me to be a guest, you know, a celebrity guest to autograph the comic books. And then once again, because my story is pretty interesting, I would do like a talk, you know, and go do a Q&A or just talk about whatever, my business and my philosophy. But at the Comic-Con, this is just like a cool story. We did one down in Maryland or some place, and this lady had come up to get a comic book signed, and she was at a point in her life where she was having a hard time at work, and she had just quit her job, and she didn't know if it was the right thing to do, and she was really scared because she was like in her 60s and didn't think she was going to get hired at, you know, find a job and all that, and she was really nervous. And she had listened to the talk that I had done, and Lisa and I do it together, and she said, you know, your words were really hit home. I really needed to hear it. It was the right time for me. I was really open. My mind was at the right place. And she said, you know, it meant a lot. And so I signed the comic book and whatever. And I thought, okay, great. You know, it was really cool to touch somebody. And then the next day she came back, and she paid to come back to the Comic-Con again, just to come back to say, I read your comic book last night, and I got the message that you had in there. And she says, now everything you said yesterday meant even more. And she started crying, you know, and wanted a picture with me and Lisa and everything. And she bought a t-shirt or something. And I was just like, well, that's, you know, that's the reason I did this whole thing to begin with. But you know, in the world we're living, we're like all so fast paced and everything happens, and you don't even get to stop sometimes and like interact with human beings. And it was just, I don't know, it was just really fulfilling. It was really cool. That
Dude, that's awesome.
like a comic book. A comic book could do that, you know. So
that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for being on here. I don't know what else to say. We're gonna get you back. We're gonna. Okay. I know you got a million more stories, but I know you got to go. Thank you, everybody. David Starr. The only thing we have left to say is, see you next week.
See ya.
Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.